Do not practice free building. So you can't edit as fast as the pros and you think it's your fingers. Maybe it's genetics, or maybe you can speed up them clickers. This tutorial will help your game, as in Fortnite, but it'll also help your game, as in Police and Women. What? All I'm saying is the baddie 10 and 10 should be going for the gamers instead. I mean, we're literally looking up tutorials on how to get faster finger movements. Like, come on. Tip number 1, build the muscle memory. This is a pretty obvious tip, and these tips will get more technical as we move on, so bear with me. Like, literally the 6th tip I'll give you, I just found out, and it changed my game forever. And I've been playing this game for 6 years, and I just found it. So a little pissed I didn't find it earlier, but back to the basics for now. Build the muscle memory. I could close my eyes and do triple edits in my sleep because it's all in the muscles, which means do not practice free building. Just do one situation over and over for a couple of days until you master it. Because free building is for building adaptability, whereas situations is for building muscle memory. And surprise, surprise, but free building is built up of a bunch of situations. I used to be so fearful of doing triple edits because I sucked at them. But then I practiced it for like 3 days, and now it's my go-to. I literally can't play without doing one. To get better at whatever situation you want to practice, go into a slow-mo build map. I'll put a code on screen right now, but this will help you get faster by getting the muscle memory down. Once you don't have to think about it, you erase your brain as a middleman, and editing becomes as fast as your muscles move. 2. And I'm gonna speed over tip 2 and 3 because I don't want to beat you over the head with info you've heard in 1,000 other videos, but make sure your ping is as low as can be. Obvious, I know, but your fingers might be fast, but if your internet can't catch up, then it doesn't matter. You can do this by plugging into Ethernet, moving closer to your router, or what I hadn't thought of, stealing the router from your parents and moving it into your room. You can also change your DNS server to the one closest to you. The DNS server is kind of a tutorial on its own, so I'll have it in the corner here if I ever make one, but if not, you can find plenty on YouTube. Although, in my experience, I wouldn't worry about it too much because I changed my DNS server and it didn't really lower my ping too much. Like, the effort to outcome on that one is very low. Number 3, make sure your settings are optimized for low latency. I don't think I've explained what latency is yet or what input delay is, but this is usually why you think your fingers are slower than they actually are. Latency is the time it takes for your input on your controller or keyboard and mouse to be registered by your game. Since your game is constantly running, it will be moving before some of your inputs reach it. For example, with high input delay, if you're running and you try to edit when your crosshair is on a block, but the input doesn't reach the game until your crosshair is off the block, then you simply won't edit. This is why you want latency to be as low as possible, so it's almost instant. And I've seen like 100 TikToks explaining what I'm about to say next, so I'll try and be rapid, but now you know what doing these next steps actually solves. It's the latency. Go into your Fortnite settings and turn off all replays. This setting, when turned on, is literally duplicating your exact game in a 3D playable replay file while you play. So that one's pretty obvious, it'll cause input delay. And then go to your keybinds and put a random key you don't use on switch hotbar if you're on PC. If you're on console, I'm pretty sure you guys use this button regularly, but on PC, we just click the piece we want to place directly. We don't do this whole switch hotbar. And what this does is the game pretty much gets confused if it's set to nothing, so having it set to something, even if you don't use it, is better. Number 4. Make sure your system is optimized for low latency. You don't need Axis applications running in the background that your console or PC CPU has to think about it. If you have another game open, a bunch of tabs, music, or a video running in the background, just close it out. And yes, this will speed up your edits. Again, your fingers can be fast, but if there's too much latency, it just won't matter. Number 5, make sure your polling rate is on max. This is a big one. Mouses and controllers have polling rates, which is how many times it sends a refreshed input to your system per second. The gaming average is the max 1,000, but some mouses or controllers come stock at 500 and you have to change it up to 1,000. If you're on console, you don't really need to worry about this, but if you're using keyboard and mouse or controller on PC, then you need to double check this. Just go into whatever software brand that your mouse or controller is and check what your polling rate is. 6. Building off of the last tip, make sure your peripheral software is not constantly being used. And what this means is there is software for your mouse, keyboard, or controller should only be used to remap occasionally and not all the time. Most mouses and controllers have something called onboard memory. This means if you remap your buttons, change what they are, it will save to that device, not onto the computer. But Some mouses or controllers will also have computer or console-based remapping software. I made the mistake of using the computer-based remapping software instead of the onboard memory remapper. So whatever mouse or controller you have, make sure you are using the onboard memory. For me, I was using the Logitech G Hub, and this was constantly running in the background. So every click I'd make, it would send to the software to make sure it was the correct click. And this created a lot of latency. Too fast edits were almost impossible. So recently, I just installed the Logitech Onboard Memory Manager and turned on the onboard memory in the G Hub, and it changed my game forever. Now there's no software middleman causing input delay, latency, etc. It's just a straight input from my mouse to the game, almost instant. And for you console players, you don't really need to worry about this. Xbox and PlayStation have onboard memory in their controllers, but if you're using a third-party controller, make sure it's not constantly being reprogrammed through the console. Just make sure it's onboard memory on the controller. So with auto weapons, you might be able to get away with this low polling rate with this software remapping, but with items like the sniper, you need to have that tracking, that extra detail and micro adjustments to be smooth. And I have a whole bunch more tips specifically for sniping like that are easy fixes, but you simply wouldn't know unless you were told, just like the polling rate. That video is right here. Get educated, invest in the channel, and this is your chance to subscribe to a channel before it hits 12K subs. And on that note, I am signing off.